He's Henry Gomez, an ad agency strategist with 3 decades of experience. This is one smart dude.
And he's Howard Eibach, a former copywriter and creative director, and the author of 2 books on the creative briefs. Also a very smart dude.
And together, Henry and I are the Brief Brothers. We love talking about advertising, creative briefs, and briefing. And today we have another episode, and I'm going to turn this over to Henry because Henry's going to set it up and guide us through some amazing, valuable information that you're all going to love. Henry, what do we got?
So I think this is more of a nuts and bolts how to
Yeah.
write a brief type of episode, and the topic is 5 free research resources in terms of writing a brief. And so before you sit down to write a brief, it's good to know your subject matter. And your subject matter is largely falls into 3 categories. One is the brand, its history, its what its offering is, its position in the marketplace, etc. Then there's the broad culture that's out there in the world, right? And human nature. And then there's specifically how people interact with products in your client's um, uh, domain. So the actual consumer of the products as part of that greater kind of global humanity that exists out there. And so it's important to orient yourself for writing a brief in all of those things. Like, what does this product do in the world of the people that it does it for, in the greater scheme of things in life? What's the brand about and all that? And so this is not an exhaustive list. This is just helpful things that maybe you know about or maybe don't remember at the moment of writing the brief.
But you're not suggesting we just go to Google and find Wikipedia. This is beyond that, right?
A hundred
But
percent.
bless you.
100%. Sorry, this is live radio, folks. Live podcasting. I'm
Live
sneezing.
to tape.
Sneezing. So, in any case, yeah. So these are things that I've found useful. I've seen other strategists use them to great effect. And it's not to say that every single one of these is going to work for every one of your challenges. I think that it is good, particularly in helping you write maybe your target description or searching for an insight or an actionable insight that could unlock a unique selling proposition for your um, for your stated widget that you're writing the brief for.
Probably also for your, what's the market situation going on? What's
The
what
the
outside of your
background.
category? Yeah.
Yes, correct. So the first one of these is Google Trends. So Google Trends, if you go to trends.google.com, you can find essentially the search volume, places where you can look at where search volume is coming from geographically. You can look at it over time. You can compare search terms to one another. And so what it does is it it's a way of judging what is trending and in terms of because people are looking for it. And so you would type in um, uh,
What do you want me to type?
go ahead and hit the explore button there where it has and it'll Canelo versus Crawford is a fight which I imagine
Oh,
is is a fight that is coming up maybe even tonight. And so it's showing you um this is just all today, so I imagine you could change it from past day to
okay. Let's see. Past day to what?
let's see past 7 days. So you
Yeah.
can see here that the search volume for this specific search um, has ramped up basically in the last 24 hours, right? Like
Yeah.
people may have known that the fight was coming tonight, but now today because the fight is tonight, they want to know what time the fight is at.
I think this probably depends upon how good you ask a question.
Well, you can see that there's a lot of values that you toggle. So you're looking, essentially, you're searching for search terms,
Right.
and then you can pick geography, you could pick time, you can compare search terms. One of them, like for example, if you wanted to compare pickup trucks versus EVs, we don't have to do it.
Okay.
But you could see, okay, in Texas, there's a lot more searches for pickup trucks than EVs.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's a
Yeah.
way of illustrating what that difference is, or that maybe EVs, uh, EV searches for EVs in California versus Texas. You'll see that California ramped up searches 5 years ago, where Texas is starting to ramp up now. Things like that. So
Right.
that's number one is Google Trends. The second one is Reddit, and I'm going to say Reddit, but also Facebook groups. And so Reddit is great because it's kind of like an old fashioned forum, but it's not specific to one subject. It has infinite number of subjects and a lot of like little what they call subreddits, which are basically mini communities about which you can you're basically tapping into what's the conversation around this particular topic. So um, this is a way you could pull quotes from Redditors or users. You can, it's basically a way of hanging out incognito among the people that you're writing this brief for,
Right.
or people that might have specific insight into the specific topic. And so there's a lot of things obviously within Reddit that are never going to be applicable to you and to whatever you're doing, but
Yeah.
there probably, chances are, if you search properly, you will find that there are Reddits for the subject matter. Same thing with Facebook groups, which um, I, I don't think are going to be as findable. So you have to do a little bit more hustling, like go into Facebook into with your account and say, let's say your client was Trek Bicycles and you wanted to learn about road racing bicycles. You could join a bunch of groups related to road racing, to Trek bikes specifically, or to the competitor bikes, and basically again go in and eavesdrop and see what people are saying, ask questions. You could make a post and say, listen, I'm trying to find out this, about what do you guys like the most about these bikes, etc. So I would say Facebook groups and Reddit. The
I'd
third
go on to Facebook's for you, but I've been banned for life
oh
from
let's not
Facebook.
let's not even ask why.
Well, I can't. I wish I knew. They haven't told me. I can't get through to Zuck. Won't reply to my emails. So it's like, I just don't know. Okay,
So
what's number four?
no,
Number three.
number three is run your own free survey. So
Mm,
um what I like this for, you're never going to be able to run a scientific survey with a small base of respondents. It won't be statistically significant, but you can use it for new business, for certain things where you're leaning more toward qualitative, or you want to make a point and you can disclaim that it was down and dirty research. So there's different ways of doing it. I don't know if
is it actually called run your own survey?
No. So there's different ways you can run your own survey.
Okay.
There's a service called Survey Monkey. I don't know if they still have a free tier. I'm pretty sure they do. But
Yeah.
you could run a free survey where basically you recruit your own respondents, and you could set up the survey. It's all online. And so the way you would recruit your respondents is you could send them an email, you could put a post in your social media profiles. Of course, there's limitations because you're only asking people that know you or friends of friends. You could ask them to share the survey link.
Yeah.
But again, to me, this isn't about getting a quantifiable, statistically significant sample. So I think sometimes open ended questions work really well in this format, because then basically what you're doing is more of a qualitative examination. So you could, for example, I actually used this about 10 years ago, I was doing an assignment for Subway, and I wanted to prove something about, because Subway is obviously a sandwich shop, and I wanted to prove something about sandwiches. And that, what I was trying to prove was that even though people eat a lot of sandwiches, sandwiches aren't the most craveable food. And so I put up a one question, open-ended question survey, and I put it on my social media and I had people share it. And the question was, if you were stranded on a desert island without and you could eat and drink from the limited things that were there so you could stay healthy, what would be the one thing from the outside world that you would daydream about and would be the one thing that you would want to have? So it's basically a psychological deprivation exploration. It's like, okay, if I went 5 years without eating this thing, it's what I would dream about. And so predictably, the top answer was like pizza and burgers.
Yeah.
I mean, with some, variation, long tail, like, my mother's picadillo or whatever. But
I was going to say Reese's peanut butter
it
cups, but
was,
that's just me.
it was burgers and pizza were by far, and I think it was pizza first. And so, and I think third was steak, right? Um, the point that I was trying to make was, look, you sell something people buy, but it's not necessarily what they crave. It's not a crave. So, and it was leading to a certain type of positioning that I was trying to sell the client on. So that was just an example of how I used a free survey, and then I was able to do one of those word clouds to show like
Mm.
how big it said burger versus how little it said. Sandwiches wasn't even on there. There was steak. There was all the long tail things were little words or whatever. So you could use things like Google Forms, Instagram polls, and Typeform to run your own surveys. So that's number three. Number four is the U.S. Census Bureau
Mm.
and
Good one.
Pew Research. So people, I have, because I work in a Hispanic agency. Um, Census is like kind of part of my everyday toolbox. But for a lot of strategists, it might not be, because they're not working necessarily with, but there's a lot more than just population counts in the survey, in the Census Bureau. There's a ton to explore there.
Yeah.
They have quick facts. They have all kinds of
Yeah.
and
Look
then,
at this, maps, surveys. And it's, for a government website,
yeah,
it's not bad.
and it's gotten better over time.
Yeah.
So this is really American Community Survey. So there's a lot of provocative stuff on the Census Bureau website. Um, I'll also add, it's also good for downloading data sets. And I'm only mentioning it because we haven't talked about AI to this point. Because obviously we have access to AI. But if I'm thinking, and I haven't done this yet, but I'm thinking that if you download census data sets, instead of necessarily examining them and going through them with a fine tooth comb yourself, it might be advantageous to download them and then upload them to ChatGPT or to Grok or whatever, and have it do the analysis for you, because it could probably crunch the numbers much faster than you could. So
Okay.
that,
Well, there's a caveat to that though. And this is something that I've learned in my working closely with my chat GPT. AI can absorb and analyze documents, anything above about 6,000 words in the document. It can only give you a macro view.
all right, but
If you want to, I'm just,
I'm talking about Excel spreadsheets and CSV files and stuff
okay.
data
So you're not
sets.
talking, you're not talking about like a
Narrative. I'm not
not a narrative.
not narrative
Got it.
stuff. I'm talking
Okay.
about like, here's a spreadsheet with the U.S. population by state. Here's a spreadsheet of minor children by state. Like, and then I wanted to cross reference two or three different data sets to come up with something, you could do it that way.
But if we're talking about, say, some of these studies that were, 50, 75, 100 pages long, that's a different beast altogether.
Correct. And I'm sure that there are limitations for the AI, and I'm sure that those limitations are not uniform across the different AI platforms
Yeah,
that you might be using.
and I think at some point we're going to do another episode on some specifics around AI, and we can explore that in more depth. But for now, the
Correct. And
idea
that
of using some of these studies and some of these numbers that you can acquire from a site like this and have AI crunch it for you is brilliant and time saving.
Correct. And I forgot to mention also, since we're talking about AI, regarding things like Reddit. So I use primarily two different AI sources in my day to day. For work, mainly because I like the way it thinks and I've established a rapport with it. I use ChatGPT. I have the subscription. Um, but the actually I have access to it through work. Um, but I also use Grok sometimes, and what I found is that Grok is really good at anything that's timely and punctual. So, like something is happening right now and it's trending right now, Grok is going to be all over it much faster, particularly because it has all of the X posts at its
Mm,
disposal,
sure.
and it does that. Um, but it also, I haven't found that ChatGPT goes deeply into things like Reddit, whereas Grok does. So Grok is a good interface to actually gain insight from Reddit if you don't want to go in and do the dirty part of digging in Reddit. It can find. And actually, I've discovered that not necessarily through things for work, but I was working on one of the vehicles in my driveway and I was having this problem. So I consulted Grok, and Grok came back and said, Redditors in the subreddit for your vehicle have said they encountered this problem and this is how they solved it. And so that's how I figured out, oh wow, Grok is really tapped into what's going on Reddit. So Grok, of
Cool.
course,
Good.
is the AI that is in X, what used to be formerly Twitter.
You
Um,
want to also talk about Pew?
Pew Research Center is a uh,
One of my favorites.
it's an NGO that does research on a wide variety of topics from in my case, again, because of US Hispanic, they have a lot of good stuff about minority communities, the US Hispanic market, the growth of the market. But they have, truly a wide range of global um, uh, subject matter. For example, one thing, they did a survey of Muslims in predominantly Muslim countries, I don't know, about a dozen years ago. And it's like really a landmark survey, like about certain topics regarding opinions about things like Sharia law and things like that. That if you're interested in that subject matter, it might be for a brief or not. It's really interesting. The point is, it's not just demographics. It's not just
Yeah.
there's a broad range of societal questions that Pew is constantly seeking answers to and publishing work on.
I think it's one of the most respected research centers in the United States as well. So
Yes,
you can count on it.
yes, and
Definitely.
when you source something to Pew, it's it carries gravitas for sure.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
not Wikipedia. Um,
Right.
and then the last thing is, yes, Google search, but using advanced search. And there are certain prompts that you can use. This isn't meant to be a tutorial on it, but you can search by file type. So you only want to find PDFs. You can search by by a domain, by a site. So if you only want to find documents coming from a specific site, you could do that. Like we were just talking about Pew, instead of searching within the Pew search box, maybe you want to search Google and see um, there might be pages that are public, but they're not linked to anything. And Google might be able to find them if you use that domain as part of your search. So you could find things like, client decks that people have published. You can find, remember we did that Hulu brief.
Mhm.
I found like the brand guidelines on their website. I found it essentially through a Google advanced search. I found the, their brand guidelines. So we were able to tap into that, as if we were an agency that was pitching the business or doing spec work for them or whatever, simply because we did an advanced search and were able to get at that. So that's 5 quick, um, free and relatively easy to use ways to get informed before you start writing your brief. It's Google Trends, Reddit and Facebook groups, potentially aided through an AI like Grok to find things for you. Running your own free survey using Google Forms or Survey
Search
Monkey,
Monkey, Survey Monkey, right?
the U.S. Census Bureau and the Pew Research Center, and then advanced search within Google.
I have just one that I want to add very quickly that I get a regular email from. It's called Our World in Data. And this is their website. And as you can see, like some of the other sources that you were mentioning, Henry, the variety of topics is pretty wide and the data dive is pretty deep. And you can then conduct your own searches on it as well. And like I said, you can subscribe. So you'll get a regular email. There might be other newsletters, which I have not explored, but this is our data, our world in data is, I thought, also think a pretty good place to go to dig around for stuff you're looking for. So there are, I
Six.
guess, six sources for intrepid brief writers, whether you're a strategist or a creative or an account person on the client side. Information is your powerful tool. So good stuff, Henry.
Good stuff, Howard.
He's Henry Gomez.
And he's Howard Eibach. Together, we're the Brief Brothers. Till next time.
Bye-bye.